Hello and welcome to another edition of Addition. I'm your host, Addy Snowden. I'm a big tech product manager, futurist, tech optimist, artist, and creator. And I'm here bringing you the news, the hot topics in tech, things I'm geeked out about, some career advice, and today especially some financial advice that you guys did not ask for. So before I get into today's episode, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram at Addition with Addy. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter, Addition Pod, at Addition Pod, and you can also follow me at Addy Adewusi for my personal Twitter. And if you never want to miss an update, subscribe to my Substack. It's additionpod.substack.com. I am accepting sponsors. I am posting my first sponsored content tonight on TikTok, you guys. I am so happy about this. Please keep reaching out to me for sponsorships at additionpod@gmail.com. All of this is in the show notes as usual. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, the first hot topic, there hasn't been much going on in the past week that isn't political, and I don't want to talk about politics at all on the podcast. So let's talk about my tech news, which is what happened last week when I released the Women in Texodus episode. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode, go back and listen, but I talked about how women leaders in tech are leaving in droves, and two nonprofits, Women Who Code and Girls in Tech, shut down this year. What's going on? I'm calling it the Women in Texodus. Literally the next day, the information, Jessica Lesson released an email talking about the disappearing women in tech. She talked about specifically Women Who Code and Girls in Tech. It was pretty much in order verbatim from this podcast. So I already called her out on Instagram. I said one of your interns may have not done their research, however, or didn't know how to do proper citation. I don't think it was a personal thing against Jessica. I'm not taking it personally, but I'm going to call it out because women in tech need to support each other. And someone commented on my LinkedIn post, maybe that's why women are leaving tech. So I said my piece on that. Let's get into what I'm going to talk about today in today's episode, which is a reminder of the financial principles that I practice that help me get to where I am today. In tech, we're worried about layoffs. Severance packages are getting smaller. People have made a lot of major purchases in the past few years. After COVID, a lot of people bought homes. A lot of people started families. And now we're in this high interest rate period. Everyone wants to cut back. Everything is crunching. Jobs aren't as plentiful as they were before. You guys know the deal. So it may seem like the right time to get a refresher on what I have learned as a student of personal finance. And I stopped talking about money for a while. Money was actually my first podcast. It was called Maddie Money. I went on a couple podcasts in the money world. And, it was my brand. I was promoting it. But I stopped talking about money because people don't like to hear it, or they hear it and they don't want to take the advice. And I was encouraged to get over it and just talk about it anyway because it's a strength and superpower of mine. And I want to share the 7 easy steps and principles that it took for me to get to a place where, while we're a single income household, I am the single earner in the household right now, and we are still taking vacations. We just bought a Mac Studio. As you can see, I have a Birkin, and this is and go back to my Birkin episode if that rubbed you the wrong way, where I explained that I did not pay full price for this Birkin. But it looks like I'm comfortable, and it's because I followed these 7 steps, these 7 principles, and these are not mine. They are credited to a guy called Dave Ramsey, who is from Tennessee, the Nashville area. I started listening to him when I found out I had student loans. I honestly didn't really register that I would have student loans. I thought maybe I would have $5,000 in student loans. It was originally 12, and then maybe a year later or 6 months later, it turned into like 24, 26, 28. Anyway, I found myself $30,000 in debt at the time, and this is within a year of graduating college. So I was just randomly searching for how can I learn about money. I think the only person I knew at the time who talked about money was Jim Cramer, Mad Money. And by searching Mad Money, I came upon the Dave Ramsey show, and thank God, because Jim Cramer is not someone anyone should be taking any sort of financial advice from. So I learned about Dave Ramsey, and I started listening to his podcast. It's free. You don't have to sign up for any of his coaching. You don't even have to buy any of his books. Just listen to the people who call in and ask him about money questions. I feel like for 5 years straight, I just listen to Dave Ramsey in my free time. He also has a YouTube channel with playlists based on whatever specific topic that you want to learn about money, whether it's buying a car, house. Like, I feel like an expert in buying. I'm a spending expert because through him, it's like not even just his stuff. He's recommended so many books like The Millionaire Next Door, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, which tells you like the truth about millionaires based on facts and not what people are saying they're doing on Instagram. So anyway, so let's get into the 7 baby steps. It's so simple. It's so simple, but it's the hardest thing for people to do because it is so simple. Like, it's easy. All you have to do is make a decision to do it and commit to the 7 baby steps. It may be more challenging and more dramatic of a shift if you're older and more established and have a house and have kids, but I know most of you guys are not in that status, so you can go ahead and just start right now, and the only person who's going to have temporary sacrifices is you, which is the best thing ever because it gives you such a superpower. So, all right, let's get into it. So there's 7 baby steps. Start with baby step 1. Save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. This is a small amount to cover unexpected expenses and prevent you from going into debt. So some of you guys may have like $100,000 in student loans and like $5,000 in savings, and it sounds $1,000 doesn't seem like enough, but some of you guys don't have $1,000 yet in your savings account, so you need to do whatever you possibly can to get that $1,000 in the savings account. He used to talk about delivering pizza because it's really not that hard, you guys. $1,000 is not a large amount of money to earn through labor. Like, it's really not that hard. You maybe even have stuff around your house that you could sell for $1,000 if you don't want to even give labor. But if you are hearing me right now and that is not resonating with you and you think $1,000 is a lot of money to save, this is exactly why it's the first baby steps, because you got to bring money down off a pedestal in order to get control over it. You need to start controlling your money as opposed to letting your money control you. $1,000 is not hard to make. You can work a weekend catering and make $1,000. So whatever you got to do, meditate, breathe, say some affirmations to believe that you can do that for yourself. Do it. And that's the first step. Save that $1,000. And that just sits in your savings account, doesn't sit in your checking account, and it does not sit in your high yield savings account that you can't access in an emergency, because this is an emergency fund. Okay. All right. So that's baby step 1. So baby step 2 is pay off all of your debt except your house, using the debt snowball method. So yes, there are 7 baby steps, and baby step 2 is pay off all debt outside of your house. I know some other personal finance people may be more or less debt averse, but having debt is the single biggest drag on your greatest income generation tool, which is your wealth. That's something that Dave says all the time. So anything positive I say about money or anything that rings a bell or rings true, that's not from my own wisdom. It's from Dave. I got it from Dave or one of his books that he recommended. I'm not taking credit for any of that. But some people need to hear it from me as opposed to Dave, and that's why I'm repeating it. Okay. So the debt snowball method is when you list your debts smallest to largest and pay your smallest debt off first. And then once that's the smallest debt's paid off, you put that payment in addition to the payment on the next debt. So most people are just paying minimum payments across all of their debts. So now you're going to throw as much as you can into the smallest debt and pay minimum payments on everything else. When you pay the smallest one off, then you take how much you're paying to the smallest one and then apply it to the next smallest one and then pay minimum payments on the rest of them. That's the debt snowball method. You can Google it and get a more thorough example, but it is no more complicated than what I just said. Order your debt smallest to largest. Pay off the smallest one as fast as you can first, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. That's how you do it. Interest rate, don't care about it, don't worry about it, which I know is blasphemy, but it is not about interest rate. If you cared about interest rates, you wouldn't have taken the debt out in the first place. If you're worried about this super high interest rate that you have to pay off and you want to pay it off first, you wouldn't have done that if you cared that much. So might as well just let it wait a little longer. Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Because once you start paying off your debt, psychologically, you start seeing yourself as someone who pays off debt. Like, so much of money is mindset. And that's why people who have a really good mindset work have a much better relationship with money than people who are still operating from a negative or low vibration mindset. So we want to train our brain to believe that we're good with money, because if we've been telling ourselves that we've been bad with money our whole lives, and all of a sudden you're going to adopt this plan, you need to understand that now that you're good with money. So these aren't just principles, they're practices. Okay. So baby step 3. So baby step 3 is when all your debt is paid off except your house. Now you save a 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So the $1,000 was the baby emergency fund. Now you're going to have a fully funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Some of you guys may have no debt and you just come straight to this, and all you're doing is saving 3 to 6 months of expenses. He typically says that it's typically $10,000 to $15,000 based on your household, based on your expenses, and maybe closer to $15,000 to $20,000 or $20,000 to $30,000. Just look at how much you're spending and see how much you need to live for 3 months and then 6 months when you get there. So that's baby step 3. And you keep that, you can now keep in your high yield online savings account, which I'm sure most of you guys have who listen. You can save all your fully funded emergency fund in that savings account. Okay, so now there's a baby step 3B, which shouldn't be complicated. It sounds complicated, but a baby step between 3 and 4 if you're planning on buying a house, which is save the down payment for your first house. And that should be the first house, the cost should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay on a 15% fixed mortgage. Okay, so you're saving for a house, and when you buy that house, it should be no more than 25% of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed mortgage. Okay, that is what the type of house that you're going to buy, and you save your house down payment after you have saved 3 months of your living expenses. So that's why there's a baby step 3B after baby step 3. Okay. So now baby step 4 is invest 15% of your household income in retirement. For most of you guys, that's a 401k. If you're a public servant, you may have different names for your retirement account, but this is 15% of your household income. Even if your job says that they fully fund your retirement, you're still going to put 15% of your income in retirement. Repeat after me. You're still going to put 15% of your income in retirement. Once you do that, you don't even have to worry too much about your future, because it's just happening in the background. Just get it auto drafted from your paycheck, and you're typically, whatever firm you're using, Fidelity, whatever, they tell you how many years you have to work until you retire based on how much you're contributing. So if you're not contributing in retirement, this message is for you, but remember, this is baby step 4. So don't listen to all of this and say, oh, I'm going to pay off all my debt and start putting 15% in my retirement and save for a house. Like, you can't do all of these things at one time. They're ordered steps. You do them one by one by one. Okay. So then after that, in terms of investment, I am not a financial advisor, but most people, and he has an investment philosophy that honestly is just too complicated for me, even though it's really simple. So I just put everything in the S&P 500 because that's what Warren Buffett said to do, and it consistently goes up, and it has worked for me. So don't quote me on that, but if you don't know where to start, that's where I would start because I literally did start there. You can also do the total stock market index fund, which is literally every stock in the stock market. So you're not like picking individual stocks. A lot of really, really, really smart people, or that I assume are really smart people I know, do this. And it is really devastating to watch because I really want it to work out for them, but that is just not the move. If you're doing that kind of stock picking, Robin Hood investing, you need to do that with like your play money on the side, not with your household retirement. So that's baby step 4. So baby step 5, 6, and 7 are all done at the same time because people are different life stages. So baby step 5 is save for your kids' college fund. Baby step 6 is pay off your home early. And baby step 7 is build wealth and give generously. So, if you have kids, that's when you start saving for your kids' college. After you are debt free, have a fully funded emergency fund, you're saving for your kids' college, you can start paying off your house early. And once you have a paid off house, you can build wealth and give generously. So those are the 7 baby steps. So I don't have kids and I don't own a home. So I guess we're kind of saving for a house down payment right now. We are saving for a house down payment. We don't necessarily plan on buying a house anytime soon, but we just want to start saving just in case. But because it's not an immediate need, because, geographically we're in Atlanta right now, but we're just too young to like feel ready to root down anywhere. So it's just not in our immediate future. But so if we have extra savings, we put it in our house down payment fund. But right now we're just building wealth and giving generously. So, and saving for our house. So that's where we're at. So hopefully that resonated with you. Let me know if you're having any, let me know if you have any additional questions. Again, this is something I haven't talked about in a really long time, but it's definitely something that I believe I can help people with, and people need to hear it even if they don't want to hear it. So I'm just going to share this message with you guys. I hope that resonated. Okay, so next is the career segment. So we're continuing our deep dive into the 15 commitments, and we are on commitment. Let me see what number it is. We are on commitment 4, speaking candidly. So the first part of the commitment is I commit to saying what is true for me. And the second part of the commitment is I commit to being a person to whom others can express themselves with candor. So this is one of the few commitments where you really can't do it until you have an agreement with the person that you're interacting with, whether it's a manager or a spouse or a family member or a friend. You need to both agree that you're going to commit to saying what's true for myself and receiving what is true from the other person, because this could really just cause a lot of bad problems if you can't just go around and say whatever you want and just say, well, it's true for me, so I'm honoring the 15 commitment. No, you have to make an agreement with that person. And they also talk about what the definition is of what's being true for you. You have to say that you have to own the truth for yourself, because most things aren't objective truths. So, for example, 1 + 1 = 2, that's an objective truth. There aren't that many objective truths like that, so you just want to make sure you're owning it as your truth. So this is one that I would definitely read the chapter on to get the context. They give you scripts on how you would establish a candor practice with your teammates. This is something that is a cultural change. It's not something that you can do, but if you're married or if you're partnered or if you have kids, you can make a commitment with that person and say, let's make this commitment to candor and create a space where we can speak openly. And that helps you practice the 15 commitment. Okay, so now it's time for what am I geeked out about this week. So this week I'm geeked out about the Mac Studio. If you are following me on TikTok or Instagram, you've seen a video of me journeying to the Apple Store and getting my first Mac Studio. As soon as the Mac Studio came out, I believe last year, I immediately wanted one. Or maybe it was 2 years ago now. It had the M1 chip. Because as you can see, I produce so many videos. I'm processing, I'm editing, and I use my college laptop. And that was not as long ago, or longer than I want to think it is. So I need an upgrade. My wife also creates content. We're also have a lot of other creative projects in the works. So it's time to get a Mac Studio. So we ordered it. It arrives July 26th. And I'm going to be making a video about the Mac Studio and doing a whole unboxing, everything. It's going to be amazing. So that's what I'm geeked out about this week. All right. So thanks so much for another episode. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for people watching me on TikTok Live. And I will see you all next week. Bye.